afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show. It is your weekend edition, Trading Week Wrap-Up is what we're calling it today. Yes, in Nirvana, but I think it's Come As You Are is the name of the song from Sly Dog today. Name that tune to start it all off. Today's show is going to be obviously a Trading Week Wrap-Up, but the graphic today, I want to do something somewhat a little bit patriotic at least, to give a shout out to all those active and past military members, those who have served. I know we got Pepe in here. He's currently in active duty, but for those of you who have served in the past, thank you so much for your service. I know it's tomorrow will be the day, but I'm not going to be doing a show on a Saturday, so we'll have to do our tribute today. So cheers, everybody, those that have served and allowed me to have the wonderful freedoms that I have as an American. I don't take those lightly. Pretty proud of who I am and what my country represents. For the most part, certain politicians I don't agree with, but try to do the best that we can for the road. And those who have fought for my freedom, thank you very much. Cheers. All right. Whew. How's it going today? That was Jefferson's Ocean. Maybe because it feels like I'm swimming in an ocean the way that my trades have gone this week. Been an ugly week for me. Let me start things off real quick by just looking at the weekly performance. I did it last week because I thought it was interesting to see how aggressive the markets were to the upside for that first week of November. And certainly momentum is one thing to keep in your mind and say, okay, I'm going to ride that momentum. But as you guys saw from my article I wrote Thursday morning, or actually wrote Wednesday night, released Thursday morning, I was all ready for a short trade. I was all ready for a pullback. We're at overhead supply. Looks perfect for a move to the downside. And then, just didn't do it. We got 1 day of sell-off, which was fine. And then today on my Q trade got stopped out. So I wanted to put the weekly numbers here for you all to take a peek at. Let's start things at the bottom, work our way to the top. Worst performer on the week was crude oil. Now, today, you actually had an up move for crude oil, so that was a welcome thing, 2.11% to the upside. Here is your crude oil chart for the day, so we can kind of play along. Oliver, I'm with you. I did not do good this week. Overall, I'm down for the week, which is something I'm not proud of, but it is what it is. It happens sometimes, and I have to act on my beliefs and my analysis of the markets, and therefore I went short yesterday. Got stopped out today. Oh, well, I hate losing on Fridays. I'll tell you, I really hate losing on Fridays. And it's not like I'm down pretty big today on silver. You guys saw silver was a pretty big slide today. But luckily for me, a lot of my losses today were offset by a lot of the puts that I sold. So I've got puts on XLY. I've got puts on XLE. I have puts on SLV. Those ones didn't do so well. We'll see what happens with that strike price. But for the most part, my losses weren't that bad. I just hate losing on a Friday. It really just bums me out top of losing trading Friday. So I'll try to get over it as we go. But overall, for my accounts, Friday was a losing day because I had conviction we're going to have a continuation of yesterday's sell-off. So we'll move on from there. Crude oil. Here's your weekly chart of it. Today you had a nice little rebound. Luckily, because if we didn't have this rebound today, you'd be down almost 6% for crude oil for the day, or for the week. All in all, a terrible trend going on. And, I did have this $74 mark mapped out here as kind of that next stopping point for crude oil. I'm not sure if we're going to get there, but as you guys know, I did sell puts on XLE, which I can show you right now. Here's your XLE puts that were sold, and I am anticipating this gray uptrend line acting as a support level, a dynamic support level for price going forward. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, but I have until December 8th to be anticipating this will kind of go up here to the upside for XLE. So that was your worst performer, was crude oil. Next on our list, moving to the upside here, was the Russell 2000, which continued its really kind of ugly slide here on the weekly basis. There's your chart of it. Now, we did come ripping off that 1650 mark. Didn't think we'd be going as high as we did, but lo and behold, there we go. Mr. Market trying to suck more people in. Maybe, Manatee, this is the $1 trillion question. Manatee says, Mr. Market trying to suck more people in. At this point, the bears think that. And on the flip side, I think Big Eb's not here today, but Big Eb said yesterday, this is it. The new trend's here. We might be going towards new all-time highs. And that could very well happen. So when you're wrong, you just have to be able to put those brakes on and have a stop loss in place so that it doesn't kill you. If I had poor risk management, I would just keep my short trades open and just keep hoping that they would work. Well, no, I had to stop out because we did today what I didn't think we were going to do. Therefore, I have to admit that I'm wrong and move on. It is what it is. No big deal. for me. I know some of you might be harder to take those losses when they come through. I keep thinking of those puts on XLE and have not yet pulled the trigger. There's still opportunity. There's still opportunity out there, Lisa. Today's action in XLE, if we look at that chart here real quick, it's not that great considering how good the market was today, right? The markets were extremely bullish. Now, granted, most of it's due to tech, and we'll talk about why that rallied today. I didn't even mention yesterday that Taiwan Semiconductor was reporting earnings, and I should have, but that's really what this whole rally today was about, was semiconductors, chip makers causing all the ruckus. So anyway, we're bouncing around on topics here. Russell was our 7th place finisher. Moving in 6th place, you have gold. This is the one that got me this week. I'm not so upset about my my trades on the triple Qs. That's fine, is what it is. I don't mind that. But here's your daily for gold, down 1.37%. But look at that weak slide. I mean, it's been 4 out of 5 days, big red candles. We had a green candle yesterday, which was like, ooh, are we going to bounce? Nope. One thing to keep in mind here, if you are looking at the gold chart, is you are coming right into an area of demand, which is just slightly lower than this. So not that bad. I think if you're looking at the long-term picture here, you've got a couple little demand zones that may come into play here. That's the first one, and I think Todd changed all of my fib retracement numbers. Let's see if he did. Yeah, Todd changed all my fib retracement numbers. I love the way Todd comes in here and just destroyed my charts, but I'll use his new tools. Todd came over to my studio and was recording some videos, but there we go. Let me get that one out of there. I'm not sure why that's not showing up. I'm going to try to do 2 different ones here so you guys can see those numbers on your screen using fibs, and there is where I have it mapped out at going forward. So, you're looking at 1935 is the top of that demand zone for gold. Well, we are at 1942 right now, so very close to that demand zone. We'll see if it ends up getting in there. I'm not sure if it will. At this point, I have some gold, as I told you. I'm long gold and silver, but I have a small amount of gold, actually mostly physical gold with coins, and then my larger position is in silver, which really got shellacked today. Here's SLV, shellacked. I talked about it the other day. I said if we get below that red line, which was right around 2050, that the logical thing is going to be for us to kind of close that gap and head down to 2025, and that may happen over the weekend. We'll see what happens with silver here. All in all, I'm a long-term holder of silver, not worried about it too much. Hey, Dwight, thank you very much. Says, appreciate all the education getting from your channel. Hey, I appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. It's nice to get not only the comment accolades, but I do appreciate the contribution. So cheers. Thank you for that one, Dwight. Cheers to you on this glorious Friday pre-Veterans Day show of the Trader Merlin. Whew. All right. Next, let's keep going up our list here. I've got gold. We talked about gold. We talked about silver. Talked about the Russell. Talked about oil. It actually starts to get a lot better here. We move into positive territory. Now, this was something that was perplexing for me. And the reason I say perplexing is there's not always. There is normally, with a high degree of accuracy, an inverse relationship between the dollar index and the equity markets. We didn't see that this week. We had almost all the indexes were up except the Russell, which some would say, hey, that's your canary in the coal mine. That's that hint we're going to be going lower. But you had the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ all posting gains this week. Dow was barely posting gains, but the S&P and NASDAQ did really well. And you had a strong dollar. That's kind of strange to have that direct relationship like that. Here's your dollar index for the on a daily time frame, and you can see really starting from Monday, it has been nothing but up. And then today you had a little bit of a red candle down day. So today was technically the first down day we had for the dollar index for the week. The dollar from bottom to top moved about 1.1%, which is pretty significant, again, for a currency pair against the global community. That is the dollar index. From a technical perspective, though, what do you guys think? If we look at this picture right here, what do you think is going to happen to dollar? Let's just make it an interactive show today and get you guys to do the analysis as opposed to me. If you look at this picture on the dollar index right now, where do you think it's going? What do you think is going to happen with this one? And while I wait for you to type it in, I will I'll change time frame and maybe put things in a different perspective. So this is on a daily, all right? And I think you can kind of see a pattern here, but the pattern gets a little bit clearer when we switch it into a weekly time frame. Right? Some people would look at this and say, hey, isn't that kind of a flag formation where you have the big impulse move to the upside? I notice if you go weekly on the dollar index, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks in a row of gains for the dollar index. 11 weeks in a row. That is unbelievable. That's like 3 months of just every week we went higher and higher and higher for the US dollar. Now all of a sudden we have this little bit of a pullback, right? And the question is, how dramatic is this pullback going to be? And again, I'm doing just a very loose channel here I'm going to try to make it look like the top channel. Some would call this a bullish flag formation. Now, I don't know. It's a little tricky, all right? It's not exactly what I would say a great bullish flag formation, because we do have that huge impulse move that started back in mid-July. If we go back to that daily, it feels like you're just trending down here. I can actually adjust this to make it fit a little bit better. At least I think I can make it fit better. Where's my end here? That looks more like the bottom line trending down here. That feels like it fits better. And then I can modify this top line as well. And we'll make this look just slightly better. And this is where technical analysis is absolutely subject to the person drawing it. I'm going through one of the bodies here. I actually hate drawing trend lines because they're always drawn incorrectly. Even if you've gone through multiple different courses and they'll tell you how to draw your trend lines perfectly, everyone's going to draw them differently. But the point I'm making out here is, if you look at one of the core tenements of my belief, which is mine, is that you operate off this pattern of impulse and corrective phases in the market, right? You're seeing things move up, and then you see them come back down. I know it sounds so elementary and like, romper room type stuff, but when you have a strong move in one direction and a small retracement, typically those retracements are weaker, and that's kind of what we're seeing now. It's a slower move down than it was to the move to the upside. Typically, that means it's going to continue to the upside, continuing in the direction of the dominant trend, which in this case would be the upside, which is why I still am holding a bearish bias on our overall markets. I know it's costing me money right now to have that bias, I'll tell you, that's for dang sure. But all in all, the dollar index has been drifting lower ever since late September, early October. All in all, it does look bearish, at least in the shorter term, but in the intermediate term, it still looks bullish in my opinion. All right, dollar index was up 0.72% for the week. We'll move on up one more level here as we get to the top. S&P 500, you had a 1.14% gain for the S&P, and I'll show you that chart right now. This one has not officially closed outside that upper supply zone, but honestly, it's looking pretty damn strong. The high that we had going back to the 12th of October, the dead high was 44.30 and a half. Today, we closed at 44.35. So we are slightly, we're just a couple points above that one. So that technically is broken out, is closed above that zone. I thought it closed right at it, but we're actually just slightly above it. So anybody taking that trade short, be very careful because it does feel like this thing is going to rip. Even though it's already ripped tremendously. I thought this pause we had yesterday and the slight rollover, man, this was literally setting up to be a phenomenal short trade. And today, but thank you Taiwan Semiconductor, which I'll look at here in a minute, that caused this whole market to just go gangbusters to the upside. So that was your, I think, fourth place finisher. We'll continue on up our list here. There you go. 10-year, 1.66%. So beating out the gains of the S&P, you had the 10-year yield moving up ever so slightly this week. Now, a lot of volatility. We had 2 big down days, and then the rest of the days were up days. So all in all, big volatility for the dollar index for the week. Pattern-wise, though, it doesn't look good, right? We did break those lows from mid-October, and that's not a positive sign. So I don't have any real strong opinions about where it's going to be going. It does feel like it got a little bit weaker recently, but it could obviously rally back up here and break some of these highs. I did not like the bond auction results this week, so I kind of anticipating this move up a little bit higher here. Top 2, that was your bronze medal. Silver medal goes to the NASDAQ 100, which was absolutely ridiculous this week. And I'm going to elaborate on this one for quite a bit. There you have the levels, the lines, the zones that I was using for my trade on the triple Qs, which I am out of now. And that yellow box, once that level's broken, man, it just ripped through that thing unbelievably today and coming right back up in this overhead supply yet again. Now, I'm not going to be taking a second chance at this one. I'm just going to kind of calm it down a little bit. I have vacation coming up here. Technically, I'm supposed to be on vacation for 2 weeks, but I think I'm just going to do 1 week of vacation. We'll see how many shows I miss, but I'll let you guys know how that goes. Probably next week, I'll have a clear idea of how my vacation schedule is going to go. Not going to Japan, though. Just a little too late, too far, etc. So you have the NASDAQ running right up into those overhead supply levels from back in September of this year as well. So we ripped through the ones from October like nothing. We respected for one day. As Jerry says, we broke the trend line. Absolutely. And again, the more I like to, the more I analyze things. This is why I like to have trend lines on and moving averages, because you know that people are drawing that trend line there as well. And when that trend line breaks, their trading strategy is going to say either I'm stopped out or I'm going to be going long at that point. So you start to anticipate when buying and selling is going to be coming in. And I think that breaking that trend line today probably did trigger some automation. I triggered some algorithms in there that were basing off of trend lines. But all in all, very incredibly bullish chart for the NASDAQ. Really unbelievable. If you think about from the month of November, if I go here from the first day of November to where we are right now, it's moved up almost 8% in 7 days, 7 trading sessions. That's ridiculous. If you go from the dead lows, which are on October 26th, best day of the year, you're looking at 10.3% in 11. That's like 1% per day for 11 days. That's nuts. That is absolutely ridiculous. Markets should not be doing that. That's definitely an outlier. Now, before I get to the number one gainer for the week and talk about that one a little bit, let me have another sip of whiskey here. So as some of you came in late here, yes, it was cheers to the veterans and all those that have served and are serving our country. Wish I could have a shot with all of you. It'd be a lot of whiskey, but cheers to everybody out there that has served and currently serving. All right. When we look at today's markets, what was it? Well, it was predominantly driven by an earnings announcement. I know it doesn't seem like one thing could do that, but Taiwan Semiconductor reported earnings. And when they reported earnings that were significantly better than expected. Let me bring up the chart here, the table. Where is it? I'm trying to find the actual number. It's not on my calendar. I thought it reported today or last night. Anyway, Taiwan Semiconductor came in, beat earnings by 16%. So that would be a sign of global demand for their products and services. And given the fact they're the number one chip maker in the world, pretty good sign for tech. And when we look across the spectrum of tech stocks today, let's just bring up the daily of this chip makers. So let's go to LRCX. Lam Research. Oops. What am I typing into? LRCX. Lam Research today up 5.41%. This looks pretty much. And look at the shooting star you had on Lam Research yesterday. You had this gigantic shooting star up in overhead supplies. Like, oh my goodness, this one was just so good looking. It just didn't get the confirmation, so you wouldn't have made that trade short. There's Lam Research. Here's BRCM. Or it's AVGO, AVGO. Old habits die hard. This is a really strong chart. Broadcom just screamed through those highs. It's been smacking its head against, let's call it 925 for the better part of 6-7 months, and all of a sudden today popped right through that one. NVIDIA. Right? NVIDIA didn't have as big of a move, 2.95%. You had Intel. Right, Intel was up 2.8%, although not as strong as some of these other companies. I did not look at, how about AMAT? Applied Materials was up 5.25%. So a lot of these chip makers really riding the coattails of it. And because tech is so heavy with chip makers, right, and the NASDAQ in particular, that's why you had this big move. Now, I think one of the big stories is this bad boy right here, Microsoft. I think it was kind of funny. Somebody posted, multiple people posted, like, what were they posting? Insider selling. This is a sign that the markets have topped. And they're making a deal because Mark Zuckerberg sold $35 million worth of stock. You guys, do you realize that Mark Zuckerberg selling $35 worth of stock is like me going to the bank and taking out a $1,000 withdrawal? That's not anything to be noteworthy about. He's just taking a little bit of money. Probably wants to go buy himself a home. The guy's got billions of dollars worth of stock, and you're making a big deal about $35 million. Woo! That's not insider selling, man. That's just called, I need to take a paycheck. Anyway, Bill Gates is probably loving it because he still is, I believe, the single largest holder of Microsoft out there and will be for some time. But Microsoft broke through to all-time highs today. And you look at why this NASDAQ has done what it has done since those lows on October 26th, well, there you go. It's really Microsoft dragging this whole thing up. I'm going to look here in a second and show you all of them. But remember, the NASDAQ 100 is up 10.3% since October 26th. Microsoft's up 13.07. What about Apple? Right, Apple's the other member of this tag team of number one and number two. Apple's up 12.5%. So you're getting the big dogs, the heaviest weighted ones in that index. I didn't check Google. dragging this market higher. Now, did Google do as well? Probably not. Now, Google's exactly what the S&P was, 10.37%. So it's Microsoft and Apple that are still continuing to drag this thing higher. All in all, what does it mean for our markets? Well, it means we have renewed optimism and continued optimism with regards to tech. Does NASDAQ continue to be that leader that moves this market higher? I don't know. I just don't believe that the legs are going to be that strong for this market that's going to continue to move like this. If you look at what's happened since late September, we've had a very disconnected market. There really has not been a pullback or even much of a hesitation here on Microsoft. If I look over the past few years, you did have big pullbacks, natural ebb and flow of markets. So when I see something that rallies this strong, this hard, this fast in such a short period of time, I'm more inclined to think that there's a reversal coming. But I'll be damned if I'm going to try to catch that one like I did yesterday. I got smoked, and those can happen very quickly. But you saw how quick this market moved today. Let's bring up those triple Qs. Similar picture. Going back into December of 2022, we had a huge market rally followed by a really nice correction. And a big market rally, a little bit of hesitation. This rally is particularly strong from a percentage gain perspective in a short period of time. That trend line can now go away. This overhead supply zone can go away. I mean, this has just been ridiculous, in my opinion, of how much this thing has moved. But Lisa says, "Phew, I am of the same mind again, since to know I usually think like you and do the same No problem, Lisa. No problem. Oh, my 11:11. Thank you, Joachim. Cheers to you and all your support. Joachim, if you guys don't know, he's on here every day pretty much, and he's in every crypto session I do for OTA, whether it's Focus, Direct Act, or Digital Assets Program, XLT General Sessions, CIL. So you're a glutton for punishment, my friend. But cheers. Thank you very much for your support as well. No new puts on Spire Qs. I did go directionally with SQQQ in an account, and that's the one I got stopped out on. So a little bummed on that. Little bummed, but oh well. Ultimately, it's a law of averages, as you heard many people talk about, that it's not about one trade. Today just irritated me because it felt like the short trade was perfect. I really felt like there was a great potential for a pullback, but chipmakers ruined my party today. Danced all over me and crushed me. Let's finish the number one here, and then I'll get to some individual listener questions. So that was NASDAQ 100, 2.76, but that pales in comparison to the big daddy of them all. There you go. 8.25% for Bitcoin. I tell you what, it's not that I don't care about my equity trades. Obviously, I love my equity trades. I'm proud of my trading, and I have losing days like today and a couple days this week where I'm on the wrong side of something. However, you look at what's been going on with crypto, and I've been a buy and hold investor for quite some time. Bitcoin was up 8.25% for the month, but let's look at some of the numbers today. I know we've got some fellow crypto people here. Big Eb is not here today. He's also in that big Bitcoin camp. Bitcoin, 1.7%. This is a beautiful move here. Now, this is very different than the move we're seeing up with the NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ's driven by economic data. The NASDAQ's driven by those earnings from semiconductors and just the leading of tech. Bitcoin's driving up because of the prospects of a Bitcoin ETF and also because of its utilization as an alternative monetary system. So 1.73% move up today, but there's a couple of others. I just wanted to bring these ones up and because it's been phenomenal, some of these rates of return. Solana, which you guys know have been big. Look at this chart of Solana over the past couple weeks. It's up another 19% today. And if we go from those October 26 lows, so we can do like an apples to apples kind of comparison. Here's those October 26 moves. The NASDAQ's up 10%. Solana's up 80%. And this is my fourth largest position. Actually, it might be fifth. Well, now that I lost a lot of my Litecoin due to Voyager, it might actually be higher. But that is a monumental move. And there's a lot of these. I don't know if you guys saw FTT. So FTT is the token for FTX exchange. There is talk that that FTX will be resurrected. It's actually gotten the nod from Gary Gensler to start back up as a digital asset exchange. And it's going to be done by, I believe, it's the former president of the New York Stock Exchange. It's somebody way up on the New York Stock Exchange is saying, hey, I will take it over. I will run FTX. Brilliant move. I mean, come on. Somebody from the NYSE, which is one of the most elite, prestigious stock exchanges in the world, is now looking at this wounded, dead duck over here, FTX, and going, you've got a business model. You have the infrastructure. You just had a whole bunch of monkeys running the show. Let me bring in a real team of people to build this up like a legit exchange. And man, FTX could really start to vault from there. My guess is if FTX gets this New York Stock Exchange guy as the lead dog, he will bring in a whole developmental team to make it a legit, above board crypto exchange. And then mark my words, if that happens, FTX will go public on the New York Stock Exchange probably within a couple of years. They'll do an IPO and become a legit, like Coinbase, a legit company. I think crazy that it's happening, but look at the move. I mean, you're talking, just in the past 5 days from the lows we saw, $1.09, 431% in the last 5 trading days. Hallelujah. And just so you know, I do actually hold FTT tokens. I own them at $25. So thank you, Sam Bankman-Fried, for what you did. But I will keep those ones for a long time. But look at just a lot of really big gainers this week. Some other ones I really like. Avalanche. If you look at Ethereum, right? Ethereum has been just on fire lately. One of the better performers out there, and it's my second largest holding. So while I had some struggles with my trading this week and individual trades, the crypto is more than balancing out that for a long time, for this week and more. John says BlackRock submitted the ETF today. It was actually, there was talk about it yesterday because they filed for a Delaware identity for the ETF to kind of creating their own thing. But I mentioned that on yesterday's show, how BlackRock is just setting up. I think they're getting all their ducks in a row, saying once this one happens, we're immediately pushing for the Ethereum one. And then we're going to immediately push probably for Solana or some other layer 1 blockchain protocol. What they should do, honestly, is iShares should create a whole portfolio of different cryptocurrency spot ETFs. So, for example, I'm happy that we're going to get the spot Bitcoin ETF, and I agree. I saw someone here saying I think they're going to have it by Christmas. Where'd that one go? Where'd that comment go? Oh, John says BlackRock. Oh, no, it wasn't John. Maybe I'm just seeing things. I could have sworn somebody typed in here that they're going to have one by Christmas, and I tend to think you're right, that they will have one by Christmas. I think it's going to happen by the end of November, but that'll only be a Bitcoin ETF. What about the people in this room that would like to buy a basket? So what they should do is they should create an ETF that is tracking the top 10 cryptocurrencies, and it's even weighted. So I pick the top 10, and how do I do that? It's pretty easy. Top 10, but I can't do any what I'll call poop coins. I know some people have kids that watch with you, so I'll try not to swear. So what do? We go out here and we find the list of top 10. All right, let's go and look at here. So here is CoinMarketCap. So I would go through and go top 10. All right, it would be equal weighted, 10% Bitcoin, 10% Ethereum. I would not use any stable coins. So 10% BNB, 10% XRP, 10% Solana, 10% Cardano. I'd skip Dogecoin because everyone knows that's a shit coin. Poop coin. I'd do 10% Tron, 10% Chainlink, and that would pretty much round out my top 10. I've never heard of Toncoin. Never heard of it. It's actually bigger than Matic and Polkadot, which is crazy to think about, even though I've never heard of it. So that's how I would do it. And I would create a spot Bitcoin ETF that allows me to create the top 10 crypto in the industry. And I think that would be great for, like myself, or say my dad wants to get involved with crypto but doesn't want to open an account, it's just too cumbersome, but he wants to be involved with it. Then you could just buy, the iShares top 10 crypto fund or crypto ETF and have access. That to me is where it should be going. But yeah, we'll have a Bitcoin one, we'll have an Ethereum one, maybe a Solana, and then we'll move from there. RG says FTX up 425%. Scary based on the current situation. Well, the current situation, honestly, is not that bad. Let's be honest here. What's bad about FTX wasn't the business idea, right? The business idea is great. The model was questionable because of their relationship with Alameda Research. You sever that, and now you have the exchange by itself, then things are fine. What is bad about their current situation is the absolute clowns they had running that company with zero business experience, thinking they knew what they were doing. I would contend that Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't maliciously, purposely trying to steal money from people. He just had no idea what he was doing, and he just had so much money. He had hundreds of millions of dollars coming in, if not billions of dollars pouring into his company, and you're in your early 20s, what the hell are you going to do? You have no experience? His parents were helping him out. They might see some jail time as well, which would be interesting. So if you strip out all the badness, which is the chief financial officers, the chief technical officers, the CEO, you get rid of those people who had no clue what they're doing, and you bring in a right organization who has history and connections like the NYSE, I think you could really turn it around. I think you'd absolutely turn it around massively, and then ultimately down the road, I think that they will end up doing an IPO if it does get to that point that this NYSE guy takes over. You feel like my dad? You're that old, buddy? You're that old? All right, how much time I got? I'm not doing an hour show. I'm not even do a 45-minute show today. Let's see. What do we have here? Any thoughts on Cardano, bullish or bearish? I am bullish on Cardano. I believe they have a rabid community of fans. I think they have got a good community of developers. My big gripe against Cardano is that they're moving very slowly. It seems like they're based off of academics. And as you know, academics, it's like, I need to write the white paper for a proposal. I need to write a report and see what everybody says about it and get all the feedback. And then I'll take all that feedback and I'll modify it. And then once that's done, I'll reissue the report and then I'll get more feedback on it. And then I reissue the report again. And finally I go, okay. The report looks good. Maybe now I'll go and find developers that can bring this thing to life. But now they've taken, a year to do that when everybody else goes, hey, I got an idea, let's do this. And they just do it right away. So it's that question of, would you rather move extremely quickly and fail occasionally, miserably, by the way, or move incredibly slow and fail much less? That's tough. In crypto industry, I would argue that you got to move as fast as possible and fail a lot. And just hope that your community accepts that, understands it, and says, you're moving quick, I get it, I know you're going to fall down a bunch. That's the tough part. Let's see. Too many scammers in FTX and government and gives Bitcoin a black stain. Yeah, it does give them a black eye, but I think, hey, Pepe, we gave you a bunch of shout-outs today. You joined late. Gave Pepe all the shout-outs, bud. Good to see you, man. Glad you could join us. Christopher says markets are rigged. Yeah, I do agree. I think the markets are manipulated. I think that all the indexes are to some extent controlled. Is that going to deter me from trying to do what I do? No. I know that I'm going to get whipsawed out of things like I did today. I know I'm going to have bad trades, but overall, I think that I actually have an advantage over the typical market participant. And the reason I say that is I'm flexible, I'm adaptive, I'm willing to do whatever the market tells me to do, whereas a lot of people get rigid in their ways. They get their accounts blown out real quick because they're stubborn and they're done. Plus, I'm not trading $100 million. When you have, let's say, $1 million or less of liquid capital to really move around quickly, you're agile. You can go long and short and snap of the fingers without making too bad of an impact on the market. Whereas when Goldman does it and he's moving $50 million of Intel, yeah, that's tough. That's tough to unload. I really love when we had Corey Lane on the other day, and he was talking about trading 18,000 contracts of option contracts. That's insane. He can't just hit the market, sell, and unload all at once. He'll move the market. So he's handicapped by his size. One of the things you do is you make sure you stay in something that's liquid enough to handle all your transactions. That's what Corey does. But he mentioned in that one specific trade, he had to kind of sell a little bit, and sell a little bit more, and literally wait. Like, okay, I'll sell more in 20 minutes. Otherwise, you're going to move that market, and that's an advantage that you and I have because we're typically smaller and more agile in the marketplace. It almost feels like I'm trading into AI or super powerful algos. Well, you are, Lisa. I mean, we all are. The market's driven by algorithms. I'm pretty confident in saying that the markets are driven by algorithms and computer programs, which is why I definitely think that the trend is your friend attitude is better because algos are going to continue to go with the trend. If a trade's winning and working for them, they'll buy more of it, which just adds to the trend, which is why I thought the rollover yesterday would actually trigger more algorithmic selling, but clearly I was wrong. All right, what do we got? It's because the bots are basically doing the same thing. I can't make that statement, MJ. I don't know. I don't design algorithms, but how many different ways can you program your algorithm? Tom sent me a really interesting email recently about AI and kind of non-logic AI, where it's just going to analyze the markets and look if people are talking about this one and opinions about this one and drive prices based off of that. Pretty interesting the way that AI is going. I'd like to interview some AI programmers for trading and see what their thoughts are on it, but You know me, I'm not that great of an interviewer. So what else we got here? I was looking at UNG today, which with the winter coming could be much higher in 3 months. Yeah, the problem with that, Michael, is if UNG goes up, UNG is made up of rolling futures contracts. So you have contango effects. So when the new contract comes in, that new contract is already at a higher price. So while oil or natural gas may be going up over time, you're not going to get those full gains because of the contango of those contracts. So let's look at UNG. It's been a brutal pullback over the past couple days, past couple weeks for UNG. Here's natural gas. You know, I was somewhat bullish on this because it felt like it was making some slightly higher highs and drifting, and I thought we would go higher. I do think you'll see prices surge in the winter and getting into early next year, but there's something going on here. Obviously, we've come from $8 and now we're at $6.30. $1.70 off of an $8 security. That's pretty impressive. I mean, that's almost 20% slide in just a couple of weeks here. A month of October has been absolutely brutal for natural gas. So, I'd be careful with that one, Michael. You know, you have to understand how these ETFs are created for commodities. So if you're using something like USO or UNG, you know, those are based off of futures products. And as those futures get rolled into the next contract, you're going to lose gains. Gains will disappear because of that. Jerry says, institutions create those huge engulfing candles and they buy and sell only advantage us humans, little guys have. I don't know if it's the only advantage. I think the ability for us to jump on the coattails of any market movement and be able to get out very quickly, I think, is our advantage. Hopefully the double reports next week, UNG will go up. We'll see. We'll see. It has been a pretty ugly one for sure. I mean, and hopefully you're not in something like Boyle. You look at the chart, looks similar, but look at the percentage slide. Just in the past week, oil's down almost 30%. 30% in the last 5 trading sessions. Just crazy. All right. No storage report today. Yeah, usually it's on Thursdays. Oh, I didn't realize that. Chris, I'll bet anything Bitcoin doesn't make any major moves until the market opens on Monday. Well, I won't make that bet. But let's talk about Bitcoin a little bit more since we were looking at that price chart. Now, you had 8.25% for the week. And, you know, I mentioned back in here, someone asked me, you know, what do I think about Bitcoin? I said, look, obviously I'm biased long-term. I think that Bitcoin's going to do great long-term. But also, as it was hesitating here, I kept saying, you know, look at the lows. It really is not making new lows. These tails are a sign that buyers are stepping in and continually accumulating. My guess is, if I had to put dollars to donuts, that a lot of this is institutional buying, getting ready for the spot Bitcoin ETF, right? I think that's why you're seeing Bitcoin surge, is BlackRock and ARK and Fidelity and these other companies are going out there and they're accumulating on the open market this Bitcoin because there's really not much other choice for them to buy it. I mentioned there's 2 other places really you could get it. You can get it from the government, who's got 200,000 Bitcoin. You could get it from the miners, which is, to me, is the most logical place for them to get them. Or you go to the open market, which that's going to be great for you and me. Right? It's going to drive crypto up. So we'll probably see that again before the end of November is what I think. Gas is down to $2.90. Maybe in your area, buddy. I ain't getting no $2.95 gas here. I did see. I saw $4.95. Actually, I saw $4.65 here in California, which is a remarkably low price for gas. Another Bitcoin question came in from Michael. He says, what are your thoughts on MicroStrategy as a proxy for Bitcoin? There are no fees for buying this stock, whereas Coinbase charges fees. Also, I wouldn't run the risk of losing my password, which I'm scared about. What are your thoughts? Great question. Let me bring up the chart of MicroStrategy, just so you can check out that one, because it has been on fire, obviously. When you look at MicroStrategy's chart, understand that they're one of the largest single Bitcoin holders in the world. And they're brilliant because they borrowed money at 5%. Actually, no, they borrowed money at 6% when they issued their bonds, and they took all the money they raised and bought Bitcoin with it. And now, given the way that Bitcoin has been moving, it looks like one of the smartest decisions they could have made. So, what about buying MicroStrategy? Yes, you could buy MicroStrategy as a proxy for Bitcoin. Yes, you're not going to pay fees, which is great. There's no transaction cost here. The problem I have with that, with this is, if you're buying MicroStrategy, what you're really saying is, I'm trusting, and trust is a tough word for me in this era, I'm trusting that Michael Saylor doesn't get overruled by his board, right? That the board could vote him out and then change policy. That he doesn't decide to sell all of a sudden, which I don't think he will. And that nothing happens fundamentally to MicroStrategy, right? MicroStrategy is a business. Now, they hold a lot of Bitcoin. Does that mean that their business is going to be successful? No, it doesn't mean that their business is going to be successful. So you have a different set of risks there. Plus, you also have to trust that Michael Saylor will, or whoever's managing the account of Bitcoin for MicroStrategy, you have to trust that they are going to be on top of it as well, and that they are going to not lose that private key. And that's a tough one. My stock, I'm holding MicroStrategy, and I sell puts and calls on it. Nice. Your calls got to be tough because this thing's moving so much. I mean, it was 3 weeks ago, this thing was down in like 325, and all of a sudden we're at 509. So thank you, Bitcoin, for driving that stock up and up and up. And yeah, I definitely think that you could look at MicroStrategy as a proxy for Bitcoin, probably one of the better ones out there right now, until we get that spot Bitcoin ETF. Then I would go with the spot Bitcoin ETF. Alex asked this one today. He says, could you please look at Plug? I did look at Plug. Oh boy. Before, I don't want this to sound like I'm coming after you, Alex, but I got to ask, are you in it or are you looking to buy it? Typically when I get these types of messages, it's because someone's holding it and they're in serious pain and don't know what to do. So let's look at Plug Power. Yeah. So first off, if you're thinking about buying Plug, you really got to question and say, well, why am I doing that? Well, why am I buying Plug Power? Look at back here in August of 2022, this thing was at $32. And it's been just selling off and selling off. Now we're at $3.50 on a big gap down on earnings today. They have missed earnings 6, 7, 8 consecutive quarters. So it looks to me, if I had to say, that Plug will most likely go away. It will most likely go bankrupt, right? This doesn't look good. I'd need to look at the fundamentals and things like that, but they're losing more and more money every quarter. Maybe they get bought by somebody, and that's your saving grace here. But if you were holding this thing at $6, it's now down to $3.44. This is straight up gamble money. You know, supply and demand don't even matter to me at this point on this chart. You're at 344, and you're like, oh well, there's a demand zone that goes all the way back to 2020. I would not look at that one. I really don't think that that's relevant anymore. It's the trend that goes all the way from 2021 to where we are now. That is a absolutely horrific chart, and I don't see it getting any better. So could Plug bounce from here? Sure. They could, Tesla could come in and say, we're going to buy Plug Power. We want to buy their intellectual property. Whatever. I don't know. But I would not buy it myself, Alex. Down 40% today and down another 2.5% in the after hours. That's a straight up gamble, one that I'm not comfortable to make. I wouldn't do that. Ganesh, I got it. Let's see real quick. Hold on one sec. Let me see real quickly. So did they U.S. credit change? So they changed. They already downgraded them once. Is this the second time they're doing it? If they downgrade it again, that's going to create big negative moves for the markets on Monday. Now, if this in fact is baked into the market, which it most likely is, you'll notice here on our futures chart, 1 second as I bring it up, you have a little bit of a sell-off here, but really this isn't that big of a deal. So I want to read the details of Moody's talk track about the last AAA rating that the U.S. is going to get if they downgrade it again. If they do and we lose our AA grade, you'll probably see the markets sell off significantly, would be my estimation. And then one of the main reasons for that is not only would the market sell off because of the downgrade, but you'd see the bond yields surge on the long end of the yield curve. And that would, of course, put more pressure on financial institutions, anybody that has is being impacted by those long-term yields like banks. That would be a pretty bad one. Yeah, it was a second cut. Yeah. I'm looking at it right now, and I'll be honest, if you look at this price chart here and look at the futures markets, if it was, in fact, an hour ago, it really didn't do much. The markets are down a little bit, but really not that bad. And again, we'll wait and see what happens on Monday, but typically, last time they did that, when they downgraded, the markets sold off a bit. But the markets have since shrugged that off like no big deal and just keep on trucking forward. I kind of think Moody's is probably right here in downgrading. Why? Because we're continually taking on more debt. We have to issue more and more bonds at higher yields. We're putting ourselves deeper and deeper into debt, not just as a country, but even individual consumers are going deeper and deeper into debt. And usually that doesn't end well. So save your money, stockpile it, figure out ways to generate income streams if this market starts to go to hell. Let's see, ETF versus the evil digital empire, one world currency. I support Bitcoin for that reason only. I support it for many different reasons, Jerry. But yeah, I don't like being told by a bank what I can and cannot do. I don't like being told by a bank that I can or cannot have access to my money. Therefore, I like Bitcoin's concept of this is mine. I can do anything I want to do with it. If I want to take this and throw it in the garbage, I can do that. If I want to take it and send it to a Peruvian drug lord, I can do that too. Whatever, it should be my choice to whatever I want with my money. No one should tell me differently. Let's see. Which is the best 3 miners and ETFs to buy, a way to invest in Bitcoin? So right now, Michael, the biggest 2 are going to be Riot Blockchain. Right. So here's Riot. And this does not come as an endorsement to say buy them, but it's saying these are the largest players in that space. It's going to be Riot Blockchain and Mara are the 2 big dogs. You have Hut 8 would be another one. They have not done so well. And it's kind of interesting to look at this price chart here. You know, you would think that with Bitcoin having a chart that looks like this, that miners would be surging right now. And I'm not seeing that. And I don't know why that is. It seems a bit suspect to me. As to why miners would not be moving that much, given the fact that Bitcoin has been just on such a tear lately. But those would be the 2 that I would look for. Let's see. Did you read the article I sent you about the banks closing? I did not. But I have heard the headlines. I should read that one. Sorry, Lisa. I didn't. But I am hearing that people are having difficulties getting capital, getting their money out of their accounts, and some banks are slowing down. So it makes me feel more comfortable actually buying more cryptocurrency and keeping it on my cold storage so I know I have control over it. Cut all government employees No. You can't cut all government employees' pay immediately. Not all. There's some people that need to be paid what they're paid. There's a lot that don't need to be paid what they're paid, but I think we can make that argument for any business in the world. There's some people that carry their weight and are just worth gold. And there's other people who are absolute garbage and you're like, get out of here. You're a waste of air to my company. That's what needs to be done. There needs to be somebody come through and perform that analysis. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here. Let me go into what's happening for Monday on the economic calendar. So let me go to Forex Factor real quick. Really next week, it's all about Tuesday and Wednesday. It's the CPI and PPI numbers come out as long as retail sales, but I will just kind of show you what is going to be happening on Monday. Again, for the equity markets and for earnings, not a lot going on. Here is your Monday calendar. You can see really the only U.S. one we have is the federal budget balance, which is hilarious. What a great laugh that one is. Ha, ha, ha. Nothing else really going on for the U.S. You do have claimant count change, average earnings index, and unemployment rate coming out for the British pound, so that's one to keep an eye on. The economic data for today, by the way, just so you guys can see that one, consumer confidence dropped more than expected, which I don't really put too much emphasis on consumer confidence. So just want to throw that data point out there because I know some of you were asking me about it. Let's not get hostile in here. No hostile environment here. There's definitely arguments made for cuts. But anyway, no real important things on earnings announcements, so I won't go into that calendar. That said, I don't have any guests scheduled for this week or next week. So we'll see how that one goes, and then the week after that, we'll let you know what's going to happen with the schedule for the program. I might not be doing some shows here in the month of November just because I'm on vacation, but I'll let you know what that is when we get there. So if you guys have comments, questions, feedback, send them in, TraderMerlin@gmail.com, or you can go to any YouTube video, put your comments down below any of the YouTube videos. I usually bring those over, so thank you, Alex, that asked me about Plug. Thank you about Michael, I want to know about MicroStrategy, etc. So send them on in there, and I think that those the 2 questions I got them answered, and I will see everybody here on Monday. So thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend. Cheers to all the veterans out there. Thank you for all that you do, and I will see you guys on Monday. Take care.